Hey, how's it going, everyone? My name is Derek Afasi. I'm the owner of Afasi Financial Group and RetireSharp.com. Today's topic I want to discuss with you in depth the cash in your 401k and why that typically is a bad thing and how to utilize your 401k to accomplish your different retirement goals. So I'm going to go in depth about the pros and most importantly the cons when somebody goes and cashes in their 401k and throws those monies into like a checking account, why that could be a very bad thing, and then how to essentially take distributions from 401k. So I'm going to use those words, cash in and distributions interchangeably, to have this video really make a lot of sense and really help you guys out the best way possible. So first off, what is a 401k plan? A 401k is an employer-sponsored retirement plan, meaning that when you have an individual that's working for a private institution, they start work, they usually get an employee benefits package, which talks about their health insurance, their disability insurance, dental insurance, all those ancillary plans, and then they get an employee benefits package that says you're eligible to contribute into something known as a 401k plan. So a 401k, I want you to think of this like a bucket. So when this individual is receiving income from their company, they have these options that say, let's say if this individual is getting paid $100,000 for easy math, what this 401k allows them to do is take a portion of their salary and place that into their own retirement bucket. So if somebody is placing, in that example, $100,000 and they say they want to put 5% of their salary into their 401k plan for that year, well, then that would be $5,000 is going into this bucket. That's known as the contribution that's being placed into this bucket. So throughout this person's working career, they could place more and more contributions into this bucket. They might be offered something known as a 401k match, which are additional monies that employer, the company that they're working for, will also place dollars into that bucket to therefore maximize out the contributions into this type of 401k related bucket or 401k related plan. And there's another side to that coin. There's another side to this formula that grows the 401k related account, and everything's going to come to fruition on why this other side is so important, especially when you're looking to cash out your 401k plan. What I'm talking about is something known as rate of return. So with a 401k, typically that individual has anywhere between 5 on the low end to about 20, 25 different options, investments to choose to help grow this rate of return, just to help get a favorable rate of return that could grow tax deferred within their 401k plan, within their 401k bucket. So if, let's say, somebody's placing in, $10,000 that year and they're receiving a positive interest credit from their rate of return, well, then you have obviously the combination of the contributions and rate of return, which is just going to increase that bucket that much further. Now, this rate of return does not necessarily mean that it's always going to go up. This rate of return could obviously go up or it could go down, and that's where these 5 to 25 different options are so crucial. If we're going and we're looking at someone's 401k plan and they say, okay, I feel like, I have, 25 different options, I feel like I'm pretty diversified, and then when we're looking underneath the hood and we do something known as a 401k stress test with their plan, they might have 6 different options that they chose, and they're thinking that they're very diversified, but all 6 of those options could be heavily invested into the stock market. They could be comprised of domestic markets and international stocks, and therefore nothing in bonds, nothing in commodities, nothing in a type of real estate asset class. And therefore what they believed was diversified because they had 6 different options was narrowly segmented into just a very risky portfolio. So, which is a good thing when obviously the markets are doing well, but is very bad when the markets go down or when you have something known as market volatility that occurs. So from 1980 through 2000, individuals were investing their 401k monies into the stock market because the stock market was booming. You had a large influx of baby boomer generation that were now eligible for 401k related plans, and they were putting a lot of pressure in the markets and they kept buying and buying and buying into the market. So what you did was you saw an increase of over 1,000% growth into the stock markets during that time frame, during 1980 through 1999. Well, unfortunately, when individuals are placing dollars into the market, that's a good thing. But when they now have to start living off of those monies, pulling those monies out of the market, so now you had all this baby boomer generation that they've contributed into their 401k related accounts for all those years, and now they want to start pulling those monies out. Well, now it's going to be the opposite effect. So now you have a lot of demand to sell out of the market, and therefore that's why we've seen market volatility from 2000 all the way to present time, to 2017 as I'm filming this video. And we had two very crucial years. One was 2001, the other was 2008, where individuals realized that they have to now have a strategy on how they pick their 401k related plans, a strategy on how to make sure that they're having a more consistent rate of return and eliminating downward market losses. Because you had individuals that walked into 2008 with $1 million in their portfolio, walked out of 2008 with 700,000, with 600,000, or situations where the individuals only had 200,000 in their portfolio and they walked out of 2008 with only 100,000, 75,000 in their portfolio, all because of that downward market loss. So it's very important, if you're currently contributing to a 401k plan, it's very important to see what is the best strategies to utilize with your options available. So if you have 5 to 25 different options, rather than shoot from the hip and say, oh, I hope that this works well, or I'm going to keep chasing returns, that's a common mistake that individuals make. And when they're trying to chase returns and they're basing their investment strategy on emotion, that's where you could have that volatility. You're not gaining as high as when the market gains high, and you're pulling out too fast, before the market could rebound itself. So there's just some very basic strategies when individuals are investing in a 401k plan. Now, when we talk about the topic on cash in 401k, why is that a bad thing? What are some problems involved with that? And then when you're looking to actually take distributions from your 401k, how can you make sure that you're doing this successfully? So the most common mistake with cashing in a 401k is not understanding how the 59.5 rule works. And what I mean by that is a 401k is deemed a qualified employer-sponsored retirement plan. So it's a qualified retirement plan, meaning that they have certain tax status with the IRS that says if you're making contributions into this plan and you have rate of return into this plan, rather than a regular non-qualified account where you'd have to pay taxes anytime they receive gains. And a common example would be like if you have $100,000 and you invest that in a bank CD, and a bank CD is paying 2%, well, every time that you receive that interest, you would have to pay, you have to claim that interest as ordinary income. You get a 1099 as that interest each and every year if you paid with that bank CD through a non-qualified cash account. A 401k, because these monies are not taxed yet, this individual that, let's say, makes $100,000 and puts away 5% into their 401k plan, those monies are getting a tax deduction. So at the end of the year, their adjusted gross income is going to show as if they only made $95,000 that year, because $5,000 was growing pre-tax or before tax. So the contribution gets a tax deduction. The amount of monies that are growing within that 401k account, so the contributions plus the rate of return, if that's positive or negative, all that compound interest is growing something known as tax deferred. And you cannot pull this money out before age 59 and a half. If you try pulling this money out before age 59 and a half, the government, the IRS, is going to fully tax these individuals, and they're also going to ding them with a 10% penalty. So if you have a situation where somebody's working for a company for 10 years, then they stop contributing to that 401k and they start working for a new company, start contributing to that new 401k, the very common mistake that's made is they'll take their old 401k account and just think that's free money, and they would go and cash that out. So if you have an example where someone's taken $100,000, well, now that $100,000 that they just dumped into their checking account, they're going to get dinged with a 10% penalty from that. And then on top of it, it's going to add to what their income was for that year that they made. So let's say if they're working for the new company, they're making $100,000. They took a full cash out from their old 401k. Well, now that's going to show as if they made $200,000, so that might bump them up into a new tax bracket, giving them even higher taxation, and they still have to pay a 10% penalty by the distribution that they made because they were not age 59 and a half yet. So that's a very common mistake that individuals make. They just think that they have full access to those monies at any time and they have to play by the rules. The government is not that nice. They're trying to segment these dollars for retirement, for your retirement years, and that's why you have to play by the rules of this contract. And if you do cash out, you can do that, but understand you're going to be paying very heavily in taxes, or it could be very heavily in taxes, and then also you get penalized by the extra 10% because you did not wait till that age 59 and a half. On the opposite side of the coin, you also have something known as 70 and a half rules, which are required mandatory distributions, required minimum distributions. So because you were growing all those monies are growing tax deferred, you were able to get that tax deduction while you were making contributions into that plan, and you also had a rate of return that was growing this account. Well, the government's saying, okay, well, you can't touch this money before age 59 and a half. And you also, we're going to force you to start pulling monies out by age 70 and a half. So there's a specific percentage based upon your age that increases each and every year, because anytime that you take a distribution from your 401k related account, you're going to have to claim that as taxes. So that's a way on how the government gets back their money for allowing you to get into that qualified, employer-sponsored retirement plan, or that qualified retirement plan. So cashing out the 401k, sometimes it's necessary depending upon obviously your exact situation, but many times you could actually set up distribution strategies and do rollovers into individual retirement accounts to make sure that you're sufficing exactly what your retirement goal is, exactly what your retirement income goal is, and making sure that you're only utilizing the dollars necessary and you're leaving the dollars that you don't have to touch, you're leaving those entirely alone. So a common mistake is made with 401k and their distribution strategies, and what we talk about is a concept known as reverse dollar cost averaging, which happens with these 401k related accounts. And what it says is that with a 401k related plan, you're already paying certain fees associated with that 401k plan, and then you're also paying for the mutual fund fees, or the fund fees, the options that you're choosing in your 401k, that adds a further negative to it. So if you think your 401k like a retirement bucket, and let's say now you're looking to take distributions, but now you have some holes in the bottom of your bucket, you have to incorporate those 401k related fees, the mutual fund related fees in there, and then also the third negative, which is downward market loss potential. So like I mentioned to you before, we've seen the largest growth in the stock market from 1980 through 2000, or 1999, was over 1,000% growth in the market. That didn't just happen by accident. It happened because you had individuals, you had a branch of the government known as ERISA that was established in 1974, that they made personal retirement plans available for all Americans. So in 1978 was when you had the implementation of the 401k account. You had baby boomer generation that, rather than companies that would guarantee a retirement for them, set them up in a pension plan, where what a pension means is, like, when you're working for a company for X amount of years of service, you give in those 10, 20, 30 years, and then after you've sufficed those years of service required, they're going to provide you a type of lifetime income stream similar to how Social Security gets paid out. So back in the day, before 1974, before 1980s, that was the most common type of retirement account. So those are the most common types of retirement plans. Was you had pension plans and Social Security income. Individuals were able to receive that income, and then they didn't have to worry about investing on the back end. If this income beat out what their expenses were each and every year, they could live into their retirements and never have to worry. So this is a chart from Yahoo Finance that shows the Dow Jones Industrial Average, all the growth. If you notice, okay, 1978 was the implementation of 401k accounts. Wow, what a difference. 1,270% growth from 1980 through 1999. If you add up all previous 90 years and you multiplied it by 2, it still doesn't equal how big of a growth that occurred during that 19-year time frame. Well, what happened after 1999? Well, you had a couple of different bubbles that were bursting, but the large portion of it was, now you had all these individuals that were contributing to the market, contributing to their retirement plans, are now having to pull the money out of the market, are now having to liquidate their accounts. So when somebody retires, they literally have to liquidate their accounts, turn that into cash. So pull their money, sell out of the market, take that money into cash, and take that distribution. So what you have over here is the difference of baby boomers retiring with the echo boomers and Generation Y and millennials not saving enough into the market, on top of the housing crisis, the Great Recession, all these different things that have obviously had an impact to why the growth has been much slower, has kind of gone back down to normal from the previous 90 years before this point in time. So why is that chart important? It's important to realize that you can't just randomly throw your dollars into the market and just assume that everything's going to be going up. More than ever, you have so much media attention that's put onto products known as like mutual funds and all these different, sign up for this website and it's going to spit out your risk tolerance and it's going to give you this nice formula, and everything should just work itself out. I also heard some financial experts, quote unquote financial experts, say, oh, well, fees and mutual fund related fees and different fees have no impact on retirement. It's all about, the person just needs to save and not have to worry about the fees. And that's just the biggest bullshit statement I've ever heard, is because fees and negatives are exactly what destroys retirement accounts. This is what allows, or this is what does not allow individuals to properly retire, is when they have that mindset of not worrying about the fees, not worrying about those negatives to their 401k related accounts. So when you increase those fees, you increase those different negatives, and all of a sudden you get hit with a downward market loss because you have market volatility like in 2008 or other years, and you're pulling monies out of those accounts. And then you also have inflation, meaning purchasing power risk and inflation risk, that's increasing as well, meaning that you have to pull out more income throughout your retirement, more income out of these accounts. You have to have a good strategy on either rate of return, or you have to have a good strategy on an income play and rate of return to make sure that you could successfully retire. So what I mean by that is there's 3 things that every individual needs to figure out before they're retired or currently retired, and how to stay retired forever. And this coincides with the 401k related accounts. And what I mean by that is an individual has peace of mind when they make sure that they have plentiful income sources, when they have plentiful amount of emergency funds, and also when they have an inflationary protection. Before 1980, I mentioned that you had individuals had pension plans and they had Social Security. That checks off the box of income sources. If, let's say, somebody is hitting retirement and they're currently age 60, they're going to retire at age 65, and let's say at age 65 they do their expense analysis and they realize they have $50,000 of income that's a need. Well, if they have pension income of, let's say, $40,000 that's coming to them, and Social Security income of another $30,000 that's coming to them, well, their need is $50,000. They're able to receive guaranteed income sources of $70,000. That step number 1 is already checked. They don't have to worry about investing their dollars in the market. They don't have to worry about utilizing that risk. With a 401k plan, you do. If you have $30,000 of Social Security income and you don't have a pension plan, well, now you have a $20,000 gap that you have to make sure that you're setting up a proper strategy for how to receive these $20,000 in distributions and not outliving your retirement monies. The second option is, the second component is emergency funds. If you're sufficing your goal of $50,000 of income, and you understand that that's going to be your annual need for expenses each and every year, rule of thumb is that you want to have anywhere between 6 to 12 months in reserves in just a liquid cash account in case of an oh my gosh moment that happens, with like a medical expense, or you need to purchase a new car, or tree comes falls to your house, whatever that case might be. You want to make sure that you have those reserve buckets, because if you're on a fixed income, it's going to be very hard to mess with that fixed income, or it will be very easy to mess with that fixed income if you don't have that emergency fund play in place. And then the third option is inflationary protection. In this type of situation where you have a pension plan and Social Security income, and you're having so much income that it's already incorporating, if your $50,000 increases to $52,000 by age 67 and $55,000 need by age 70, well, it's going to take a while to hit that $70,000 number in this example. So therefore, that could provide you with that inflationary protection. So this is assuming that an individual has a pension, Social Security income. Obviously, the individuals watching this video probably have a 401k plan. So how can we still make sure that you're targeting these 3 main components for pure retirement peace of mind, while taking on the smallest amount of risk, and making sure that you're actually having a strategy that correlates to what the world's greatest investors actually do, and making sure that you have peace of mind throughout the entire process. And a really quick example, let's say if somebody has $500,000 in their 401k retirement account and they're currently age 60. Typically, right when the person hits 59 and a half, these 401k plan administrators allow individuals to do full rollovers into individual retirement accounts. An individual retirement account is more of a customized plan. So rather than like with a 401k where you're subject to only those 5 to 25 different options to choose from, with an IRA you could have 5,000, 3,000 different options to choose from. So this is where we could help individuals segment their dollars into properly designed IRA contracts to make sure that it's giving them their peace of mind when they're looking to cash in their 401k or take distributions from their 401k. So like that example before, if this person's age 60 and they want to retire at age 65 and they have a $50,000 need, and let's say at age 65 they're receiving $30,000 of Social Security income, well, this tells us that they have a $20,000 gap at age 65. So therefore, they could utilize this a couple of different ways. They could really narrow down on how their investment strategy works, making sure that they're trying to eliminate downward market losses as best as possible and get consistent rates of return into their accounts and try to live off of those monies while making sure you're not exhausting those dollars. So that's one option, is do a type of investment strategy that works a lot better than how typical 401k accounts can work. And this is something known as tactical money management that a lot of advisors like fee-based planners set up for their clients, which is a really good approach. They could blindly go into mutual funds and just trust the advisor and say, okay, well, it's in a mixture of stocks and bonds and hopefully everything should work itself out, which that's more of a guess. Or option number 3, they could take the exact portion of their 401k, place it into insurance contracts such as an annuity. That's a 5-year deferred annuity. You use the smallest amount of dollars out of that $500,000. Maybe it's going to cost $200,000 at age 60 to therefore trigger $20,000 of guaranteed income or lifetime income from the annuity from age of 65 for the rest of that person's life or them and their spouse's life. So when you utilize those insurance-based products, you're using the smallest amount of dollars. So let's say in this example, it costs $200,000 to suffice that $20,000 income play, like a personal pension plan. You now have Social Security income and annuity income that is providing that $50,000 of income. You still have $300,000 left over. So like in option number 2, you could take $50,000, the emergency need. $50,000 is their annual expenses. And you could leave that into a $50,000 IRA money market account. So something that's not really going to have gains, but just something like a liquid bucket, a liquid cash bucket that's sitting there that you could utilize. And then option number 3, inflationary protection. You could do this a couple of different ways. You could utilize annuity laddering strategies to have step-ups. And what I mean by that is, like at age 65, the retirement income goal might be $50,000, but you're going to have some expenses are going to be fixed, some expenses are going to be inflationary expenses. So maybe at age 67, those expenses are going to increase to $52,000. Maybe at age 69, it's going to increase to $53,000. Age 71, it's going to increase to $55,000. Rather than just not worry about that, how exactly can you make sure that you're combating that inflation? You could utilize the remaining, if you use $200,000 on the annuity, $50,000 on the emergency fund, and you have $250,000 left over, you could leverage strategies to make sure that you're trying to eliminate those downward market losses as much as possible, trying to have the power of compound interest work in a positive direction to eliminate those fees, to make sure that you're having consistent gains into your account. And then when it comes time that you have to pull out more monies because cost of goods and services have increased due to inflationary risk, well, then you could, siphon out those dollars as needed. Or you could have little step-ups, little micro step-ups, little micro annuities that have like a 7-year deferred that's going to provide you another $2,000 at age 67, is going to provide you another $5,000 at age 71. There's a whole slew of combinations, because now what you did was you did not fully exhaust your dollars. You made sure that everything was set up into perfect quadrants for your exact income need. So those are the different things that we try to help you guys out on, is to try to see the 30,000 foot view and say, okay, what exactly is your situation? What are the pros? What are the cons? Can you accomplish your retirement goals successfully if you stayed the course? So we have a Retire Sharp planning system that goes through over 3,000 points of data to run different various scenarios of saying your current situation will run that scenario 3,000 times over. Then we'll make slight tweaks to that scenario and then show you how to have a much higher retirement success while leveraging 401k related accounts, cash accounts, all those different things have to all be combined, together. So in the past, individuals were able to just throw their dollars into the market. The market was having a nice, successful 1,000% gain. And then when it actually came time for them to retire, baby boomers could go take their monies, roll it over into like a bank CD or like a fixed annuity that was paying 10, 8, 12% rates of return and just live off of that interest. Well, obviously now you have market volatility because you have so many boomers are pulling out of the market. You don't have enough millennials and echo boomers putting dollars into the market. So therefore we're having this volatility shift. And when individuals try to go into those interest rate accounts, what used to pay, like as an example, in 1985, you could purchase a 10-year treasury bond that's backed by the full faith of the federal government, and that was paying right around 10%. Now that same treasury bond is paying 1.2%. So you can't utilize those fixed interest rates anymore, and there now has to be a strategy in place. If you blindly go in and just listen to the different media attention out there, well, that would be fine if it was actually successful. There's a study that comes out each and every year known as the Dalbar study, which shoots down common examples or common strategies that typical advisors recommend. And what it's saying is that the individual investors typically don't even gain half of what the stock market does, is because they're basing their projections, they're basing their strategies 100% on emotion. So there has to be a formula-based approach. There has to be a more strategic approach to make sure that you could retire successfully. So if you found value in this video, please feel free to give our 1-800 number a call. It's 1-800-566-1002. We're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You could also go to our website, retiresharp.com. There's going to be a little icon that pops up on the right-hand side that will allow you to schedule an appointment at any time so you could have a more concrete appointment with that specialist of calling in. So, if you have calling in, talk to the assistant, tell them that you saw a video on cash and 401k, and then they'll put you over to a specialist, or you could set up a more detailed appointment online through our digital calendar. We're A+ rated on the Better Business Bureau. We've always had very good reviews. We've never had any complaints. It's because of this methodical process. I want to thank you very much for watching this video. Please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Retire Sharp, so you could have access to the most updated videos. Thanks so much, guys.